welcome back, brothers and sisters, and I'm so glad to have y'all here with me again as we talk about the possible coming rapture. And boy, do I have quite a few things very, very interesting to show you. This is not the video I was planning on doing right now, so I had to stop the one I was working on and show y'all this, because what the Lord put in front of me is pretty amazing, and I can't wait to show it all to each and every one of you. So thank you all very, very much for being here with me for another video. I appreciate it very much. So let's go ahead and get into it, because I've got some really, really neat things to show y'all today. Okay, so one of the first things we need to talk about, so that everybody understands who doesn't so far, and everybody's clear on this, is the Lord's perfect 360-day calendar. Now, why is it 360 days? It's 360 days because there's 30 days in every month. In the Lord's calendar, it goes from month to month. So, with understanding that is why from new moon to new moon is a marker. But it's not the only markers, as I talked about in my last videos. So, we have the 1,260 days. We have the 1,290 days, and we have the 1,335 days. So there's exactly 30 days between the 1,260 and the 1,290 at the end of tribulation. So 7 years on God's perfect calendar is 360 days out of 7 years is 2,520 days. So, going from the 1,260 and the 1,260, that took us to November 16th. That's exactly 7 years on the Lord's calendar. But we also have exactly 7 years from the 1,290, that 2,520 days. So, going from the 1,290 at the very end of tribulation, back 2,520 days. Takes us, of course, to December 16th of 2024. Now, we've already talked quite a bit, and I've shown y'all in some other videos how the number 3 correlates with the bride and the wedding. So much in the Bible. We've seen it over and over and over. But that's not the only thing that correlates with the bride and the wedding. And it's also the 30 that correlates with the church, with the bride. And another big reason that I'm going to give y'all right now is because every month for that 30 days, we of course see the moon. It goes dark for 2 nights, as we've talked about many times. And then when it is born new, at the very beginning of the months, that is the new moon. So, we already see how this correlates to Jesus, but we can also see how it correlates to the church, to the age of grace. Because just as when we turn to Jesus and we confess our sins and we ask for forgiveness and we are born new in the Spirit, just like with Jesus, because Jesus, he lives within all believers, so we can see again how the moon also correlates directly with the bride. Okay, so I have more to show y'all that goes with the 30 in a second, but first I'm going to show you this that goes with the moon. Okay, so November 16th, that was exactly 7 years on God's perfect calendar to the 1,260, which lands on the 9th day of Sukkot for the Jews. Well, what is very, very interesting about that is that 3 days after the 1,260 day marker, this is when not only was the moon in Jacob, this is what represents Israel, in Gemini with the 2 twins. So, as well as what happened started at this point was a meteor shower that is coming out of Gemini and is still going. So now when we look at December 16th, okay, here again we see the moon, and it this time is in Esau, which represents the Gentiles. Now, this meteor shower that's coming out of Gemini is supposed to last until December 24th, but it's at its peak right now and will be until December 16th, which is actually pretty cool. Okay, so the other thing as well to remember, since we are talking about the moon, is, you remember I talked about this little in my last video, that the Jews, they have 2 beginning of months. So Passover is also the first month. And as y'all know, that we've watched so much for so long with the harvest time at Pentecost being normally in the month of Sivan. Sivan is also known as the 3rd month, and we saw that in like Esther 8:9, where it says the king's scribes were summoned at that time in the 3rd month, which is the month of Sivan. But of course, we know it normally as not being the 3rd month. Right now is the 3rd month. And December 16th is actually the 14th day of the 3rd month. So remember, Jesus, whenever he was crucified, it was on Passover. So that also would have been the 14th day of the 1st month. And as we also know and understand, when we saw the midnight cry at Passover, whenever Pharaoh, and he didn't want to release the Egyptians, and God took all the firstborn, and it talks about the midnight cry. So, seeing that Passover, which would actually be the 15th for Passover, but as we can see here, December 16th for us, it will be December 17th for the Jews. So that would be the 15th day of the 3rd month for them. So we can see also how this correlates as well, not only to the midnight cry, but we also see the correlation to the month of Sivan. Now, one thing I've been going over with all of my studies that I have been seeing is with every pretty much king, every major king through history, and also every rise of every kingdom, they're either born in September, October area, right around the Feast of Trumpets, and nearly all of them die around the time of Pentecost. I keep seeing it over and over and over, as well as the kingdoms. Their beginning is normally in September, October, around Feast of Trumpets. And whenever they crumble, it's nearly always towards the end, like around Pentecost, around Sivan, that time frame. Every time. I keep seeing it. May and June, whenever all of these happen. And just like with Jesus, when we see Jesus, he was born around the Feast of Trumpets, on the Feast of Trumpets, and then whenever he died, it was right there at Passover. So I keep seeing this, and I've been going over it and going over it. We know that Jesus, and he returns, it's going to be on Sukkot. And I believe undoubtedly that we've been able to prove it's going to be the 8th for us, the 9th for the Jews. Well, a wedding is 7 days, so we know our wedding feast. It has to have that 7 years. And we also know that tribulation lasts for 7 years. And this is what I've been running over and over, because how can it be that the end of the age, the end of grace, when we are all taken up, how is it possible that could happen at the time of Pentecost and still get 7 years falling in between either the 1,260, the 1,290, or the 1,335 days at the very end of tribulation, without it being 6.5 years or without it being 7.5 years? And it's not possible unless when we go up, it counts as also being at around the time of Pentecost. Because like I was talking about again in my last video, with that kind of mirror reflection being there being 2 first months. That would also mean that this 3rd month is the equivalent of Savant, and then that would actually work. Okay, so also what we've talked about several times as well as when we look at different weddings in the Bible, and I undoubtedly strongly can see, and I think y'all can too, that Samson, his wedding in the Bible, directly correlates with our wedding, the wedding of the bride, because he married a Gentile. Now, what's very, very interesting when I started reading about this again is, I'll show you in a second, that also correlates with the 30. But when Samson went down to Timnath, and that's when he first saw a woman, one of the daughters of the Philistines. So then I went and looked at what the word Timnath means in the Hebrew. And it means to be complete or to finish. And as we know, as we understand, this is the new covenant. This is going to be the end of the age of grace. This is going to be the finish, the completion of Jesus and the new covenant, as well as Timnath. It is the land that was given to Joshua as an inheritance, just as we are given our inheritance, the bride. And as well, the name can also be translated to mean the son's portion. And are we not the son's portion, meaning Jesus? We are his portion. In Judges 14:5 it says, Then Samson went down and his father and his mother to Timnath, and came to the vineyards of Timnath, and behold, a young lion roared against him. Now Isaiah 24:5-7 says, The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant. Therefore hath the curse devoured the earth, and they that dwell therein are desolate. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few men left. The new wine mourneth, the vine languished. All the merry-hearted do sigh. So see right there we can see the new wine. The new wine is the new covenant, because remember, we were grafted into the vine. So what I'm trying to show through all of this is just the direct correlation to Samson and the wedding. So then when we look at Judges 14:11, it says, And it came to pass, when they saw him, that they brought 30 companions to be with him. 30 companions for the wedding. So here again we see the 30. 30 being again the correlation between the 1,260 and the 1,290. Again, because that's 30 days. As well as we see another correlation again with the 30 days of the moon. Which this is all coming round about, in this big circle. Now, it goes on and says, And Samson said unto them, I will not put forth a riddle unto you, and if you can certainly declare it to me within 7 days of the feast. So again, here we see the 7 days of the wedding feast. And that as well not only correlates to our wedding, but the 7 years of tribulation. Okay, so Genesis 38 came before me, and I wasn't looking for it or anything, so I know it came from the Lord. And if you're not familiar, this is the story with Judah, where he had 2 sons, and his oldest son's name was and he married his oldest son to a woman, and was evil in the sight of the Lord, so the Lord slew him. So he took his son's wife and then had his brother marry her. And his brother didn't want to have kids with her, and he was wicked in the sight of the Lord. So the Lord killed him also. So this is when he told her to go live with her dad in his house. And that whenever his youngest son, which would have been his third youngest son, whenever he was old enough and grown, that he would call for her and that she would be his wife. Well, during this time, Judah's wife died and he got lonely. And so he went to the town, and this is the same town that she was living in her dad's house. And what's crazy about this is, of course, the name of that town was Timnath. So she took off her clothes of mourning, her dirt clothes, and put on normal clothes, and she covered her face with a veil. And she was down in Timnath outside, and Judah came along and he mistook her for a whore. And he wanted to be with her, to be comforted. So he didn't. She said she wanted a sheep. And so he said, well, I'll give you my staff and my ring. And then whenever I'll have one of my servants bring you a sheep, and you can keep these until then. So she was like, okay, I'll do that. So she wound up getting pregnant. Now, she knew that this was Judah, and she also knew that his youngest son at this point was grown, and that Judah had never called for her. So she was not happy about that. So she conceived, she took off her veil, and then it says, and it came to pass about 3 months after that, it was told Judah, saying, Tamar thy daughter-in-law hath played the harlot, and also behold, she is with child by whoredom. And Judah said, bring her forth, let her be burnt. But of course, whenever she was brought forth, she told him, that who she was. And then he said, all right, you're right, I'm in the wrong. I had promised you to my son once he was grown, and he's grown. And, I never did my part, so I'm the one at fault. So, but what else is very interesting here is it says, and it came to pass in the time of her travail, that behold, twins were in her womb. So, of course, with this story, this is where we see the 2 children that are born. And again, this also correlates with the 3 months, us being in the 3rd month, the veil being lifted, and Gemini, the twins, which of course are Jacob and Esau, which of course again represents Jews and Gentiles. Okay, so with all of this, we can clearly see how much Gemini correlates to all this as well. And that's not the only thing, okay? So looking at December 16th, which is we just at the time of the full moon, just coming out of the full moon, just like the first fruits were. They were harvested right after the full moon, which of course it's a midnight cry, which we just talked about. But it's also 4 months. 4 months until April. 4 months until the harvest of the first fruits of the grain, right? So then we look at John 4:35, where it says, say not ye, there are yet 4 months, and then cometh harvest? Behold, I say unto you, lift up your eyes and look on the fields, for they are white already to harvest. So this verse is saying, no, you don't need 4 months longer for the harvest. The harvest is ready right now. So also as well, looking at December 16th for us, which would be December 17th for the Jews. Again, this will be a Tuesday for them. And as we've talked about as well, Tuesday is the one day that God said it was good twice. So you can see that there is a whole lot of reasons why I believe that this 1,290 days, that this correlates to the rapture of the bride. Now, 2,520 days, 7 years also on God's perfect calendar. That goes from January 30th to 2031. The Immaculate Conception, which we've already talked about as well, is December 25th for the Jews, December 24th for us. And this will be 7 years for tribulation. it's still absolutely possible for that to line up through there. I know we are all praying and hoping, and we can see so much going on in the world. We really can't. So much bad, just so many terrible, terrible things. Just, it's progressing. It's progressing at a great rate. Is it possible that we still have to go on until sometime around Pentecost? Yes, that's possible. And if that happens, we'll have to rework everything and see what we're missing. But right now, we are still in this. And there is a lot that I just showed y'all that completely lines up with this being an extremely, extremely high probability. And as all of y'all are seeing, I think we all know that America is about to come under attack. Well, it already is under attack. All Western nations are. There's already a flood that has been brought in to all Western nations that's preparing for something, and it's nothing good. And we can all see this. And we know that Iran and Russia and China and all these countries that are wanting to be part of this world domination and take over and destroy everything, that they're pushing. They want to do this before President Trump takes office on January 20th. So we can see it coming. It's about to get bad, really, really bad. And I think we can all see that everything's about to kick off. And we are not appointed to wrath. The seals are not open yet. They're opened right after we go up, right after that door is shut. And I think this is a very, very high possibility. Now, as some of you already know, I am working on a sanctuary for the animals, and it's very, very important to me. So if you would like to donate and be part of the Angels for Animals Sanctuary, it would help me a great deal. I have a ton to do to try and help protect and feed and take care of a bunch of these animals. And on top of it, I've got another cat that's pregnant that's come up. And the raccoons are getting so much better, but I've still got to get some homes up for them. I've had several people donate now, and I'm so thankful to you all who've been donating to me. You are just absolutely wonderful. May God bless you all, and I'm going to go over a few of y'all who've been donating. And it's just been wonderful. But I need quite a bit more help, my brothers and sisters. And I'm praying that many of y'all will be willing to help me in this endeavor, because there's a lot of animals out there that are really in need right now of the protection in this area. They're being harmed, they're being hurt, and I'm trying to provide them a place because they are just coming up into my backyard, and I'm working on it. But honestly, I was calculating it, and I need about $2,200 to be able to do the bare minimum to get everything I need up for all these different animals that are coming in. I've got armadillo, skunks, raccoons, cats. I've got it all coming in, and something out there is attacking all these animals, and there's quite a few that are coming in. I can't even, probably about 35 different animals at this point right now, and I really, really need your help. So if anyone is willing and would like to, I'm going to leave at the end of this where you can donate to, or if you just want to donate to the channel, you can do that as well. And thank you all, everyone who has been giving me super thanks. It helps me so very, very much. I appreciate you all. Now, Andrea H., she has donated again. She said, "For your sweet animals, love you, sister. Hope to meet you in the air soon." Thank you so much for donating again. I appreciate you so very much. You're such a sweet sister in Christ. May God bless you so much. And also, Melinda L. Thank you, Melinda L. I got your donation and it was adorable. It came through like a puppy dog. I wish I had a way to show it here. It was so cute. The way your donation came through, it made me smile. Just brought a smile to my whole day. And your donation has already gone to helping a great deal. I've already got 3 different home containers for the cats and heating pad for them and insulation in them because winter's coming and so it's going to be very cold for them. So I'm working on that. I'm working on a warmer for their water so their water doesn't freeze. And the next thing I need to do is for the raccoons that are coming in, they're injured and try and get they make these things that go up in the trees for them so they can get up there and they'll be safe. And those aren't cheap, honestly, but I'll see if I can find a way to make them myself. But I'm gonna try. The next one that I had come in was from Buck S. Thank you, Buck. Again, I'm not saying anybody's last name without their direct permission. Thank you, Buck, for your very generous donation. I appreciate it so very much. May God bless you. May God bless all of y'all who've been donating and helping me. This is so important to me. I can't express how important this is to me. I know that this is something that the Lord wants me to do, and the animals are getting better already because of all of y'all's donations that are coming in to help with this most important cause. Even though times are getting difficult and dark, doesn't mean we can't continue to strive to do good things, to try and help take some of just the pain and suffering that's going on out there in the world. And this is our way, for all of y'all who are joining me on this, our way of trying to help ease some of the suffering out there. Because animals, to me, are like children. They're innocent. They're innocent in everything and just so incredibly sweet. And I want to do all I can to protect them, especially from anything out there that's causing them to suffer. And I know a lot of y'all feel the same way about animals that I do. So thank you all for your donations so much. I appreciate it very much. And I pray that more of y'all would continue to help me because I really need the help right now. Thank you all. I thank you all for being here with me. And for any of y'all who can't donate, that's okay. You donate just by watching these videos, sharing these videos, liking these videos, and even leaving nice comments. It helps my channel so much. And whenever I get where I'm making enough, I won't need any help with the animal sanctuary. I'll definitely be able to make it on my own. But until then, I need everyone to help in any way they can. And y'all help by sharing and liking and leaving nice comments like I just said. So I appreciate all of y'all and all of y'all who watch. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Leave a like and please leave me a nice comment. I pray with all my might. This is it. I really do. I think we are so close and I think we can all feel it. But it's never too late to continue to try and do as much good as we can in this world. And I'm glad to have so many of y'all here with me who are good, kind, and true Christians, true brothers and sisters in Christ. And I'm grateful for each and every one of you who are here with me. And I will see y'all again very soon because I got another video coming up that I'm almost done with. It's going to be about prophecy and showing what's going on with the drones, because I know there's a lot of people saying a lot of different things and theorizing, but this video I'm working on is going to show what's going on from prophecy as well as what we can see that's been being used, the drones have been being used for in the last year, just in our history. And that gives us a pretty good idea of what's coming. So don't miss that video, and I will see you all very soon.